A serious and good philosophical work could be written consisting entirely of jokes. The limits of my language means the limits of my world. I don't know why we are here, but I'm pretty sure that it is not in order to enjoy ourselves. Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. Hell isn't other people, hell is yourself. The real question of life after death isn't whether or not it exists, but even if it does, what problem this really solves. Nothing is so difficult as not deceiving oneself. I am my world. If people never did silly things, nothing intelligent would ever get done. A man will be imprisoned in a room with a door that's unlocked and opens inwards, as long as it does not occur to him to pull rather than push. If we take eternity to mean not infinite temporal duration, but timelessness, then eternal life belongs to those who live in the present. The problems are solved, not by giving new information, but by arranging what we have known since long. Don't, for heaven's sake, be afraid of talking nonsense, but you must pay attention to your nonsense. We are asleep. Our life is a dream, but we wake up sometimes, just enough to know that we are dreaming. Not how the world is, but that it is the mystery. Philosophy is a battle against the bewitchment of our intelligence by means of language. How small a thought it takes to fill a life. Never stay up on the barren heights of cleverness, but come down into the green valleys of silliness. When we can't think for ourselves, we can always quote. We feel that even if all possible scientific questions be answered, the problems of life have still not been touched at all. To imagine a language is to imagine a form of life. I act with complete certainty, but this certainty is my own. At the core of all well-founded belief lies belief that is unfounded. What can be shown cannot be said. Tell them I've had a wonderful life. I give no sources, because it is indifferent to me whether what I have thought has already been thought before me by another. What is troubling us is the tendency to believe that the mind is like a little man within. The world of the happy man is a different one from that of the unhappy man. A picture held us captive, and we could not get outside it, for it lay in our language, and language seemed to repeat it to us inexorably. When you are philosophizing, you have to descend into primeval chaos and feel at home there. You can't think decently if you're not willing to hurt yourself. If you tried to doubt everything, you would not get as far as doubting anything. The game of doubting itself presupposes certainty. The mystical is not how the world is, but that it is. This is how philosophers should salute each other. Take your time. Just improve yourself. That is the only thing you can do to better the world. If in life we are surrounded by death, then in the health of our intellect we are surrounded by madness. Logic takes care of itself. All we have to do is to look and see how it does it. Sometimes in doing philosophy, one just wants to utter an inarticulate sound. Everything that can be thought at all can be thought clearly. Everything that can be said clearly. Philosophers are often like little children who first scribble random lines on a piece of paper with their pencils and now ask an adult, "What is that?" One often makes a remark and only later sees how true it is. Knowledge is in the end based on acknowledgement. The philosopher is not a citizen of any community of ideas. That is what makes him a philosopher. If I have exhausted the justifications, I have reached bedrock and my spade is turned, then I am inclined to say, this is simply what I do. I sit astride life like a bad rider on a horse. I only owe it to the horse's good nature that I am not thrown off at this very moment. I think I summed up my attitude to philosophy when I said, philosophy ought really to be written only as a poetic composition. If there were a verb meaning to believe falsely, it would not have any significant first-person present indicative. The human body is the best picture of the human soul. Suppose someone were to say, imagine this butterfly exactly as it is, but ugly instead of beautiful. Belief in the causal nexus is superstition. This sort of thing has got to be stopped. Bad philosophers are like slum landlords. It's my job to put them out of business. We are struggling with language. We are engaged in a struggle with language. In art, it is hard to say anything as good as saying nothing. It's impossible for me to say one word about all that music has meant to me in my life. How then can I hope to be understood? How small a thought it takes to fill a whole life. Language is a part of our organism and no less complicated than it. So in the end, when one is doing philosophy, one gets to the point where one would like just to emit an inarticulate sound. Uttering a word is like striking a note on the keyboard of the imagination. Where two principles really do meet, which cannot be reconciled with one another, then each man declares the other a fool and a heretic. In the world, everything is as it is and happens as it does happen. In it, there is no value, and if there were, it would be of no value. A tautology's truth is certain, a proposition's possible, a contradiction's impossible. Most of the propositions and questions to be found in philosophical works are not false, but nonsensical. Always come down from the barren heights of cleverness into the green valleys of folly. Anything that can be said clearly. Nothing is more important for teaching us to understand the concepts we have than to construct fictitious ones. Concerning that which cannot be talked about, we should not say anything. Just be independent of the external world, so you don't have to fear for what's in it. The silent adjustments to understand colloquial language are enormously complicated. The limits of my language are the limits of my universe. To believe in God is to see that life has meaning. A philosopher who is not taking part in discussions is like a boxer who never goes into the ring. As there is only a logical necessity, so there is only a logical impossibility. The revolutionary will be the one who can revolutionize himself. The riddle does not exist. If a question can be put at all, then it can also be answered. To convince someone of the truth, it is not enough to state it, but rather one must find the path from error to truth. Here it can be seen that solipsism, when its implications are followed out strictly, coincides with pure realism. If by eternity is understood not endless temporal duration, but timelessness, then he lives eternally who lives in the present. The solution of logical problems must be neat, for they set the standard of neatness. Talent is a spring from which fresh water is constantly flowing, but this spring loses its value if it is not used in the right way.